Lesson 140, the third conjugation.
So, Bill, we're getting close to the end of this second book, and it's time to switch topics from nouns to verbs.
That's right. We're going to pay a lot of attention to verbs from here to the end of the book. And as I've said before, in Latin we have 4 conjugations. A conjugation is a pattern of verb endings.
Right, and our listeners already know 2 of those patterns, the first and second conjugation.
But they do not know the third conjugation or the fourth conjugation. And now it's time to change that. It's time now to begin to examine the third conjugation and talk about the characteristics of the third conjugation.
All right, well, first, let's review those characteristics with the first and second conjugation, just in case they've forgotten anything. So, for the first conjugation, we identify that it's the first conjugation by looking at its infinitive form, that to form. So, for example, portare, you see here on our chart, means to carry. And we see that it has a long A for portare, and so we know it's first conjugation.
And just for comparison purposes, I've also included in this little chart here the third person singular form of the verb, just so we can see what's happening with the conjugated forms.
Right, so portat.
Notice that the letter coming before the personal ending is the letter A. The personal ending is the letter T. Right before that, you have the letter A, which happens to be the same letter that comes 3 letters before the end of the infinitive.
Right, and so the same pattern holds true for docere and docet in the second conjugation.
Right, in the infinitive, we have the letter E, 3 letters from the end, and then notice in docet, the personal ending is the letter T, and the letter that comes right before the personal ending is the letter E. That's that same letter we saw, 3 from the end, in the infinitive.
Right, but let's move on to the third conjugation now. The first third conjugation that we're going to learn is curo, curere. And that means I run and to run, respectively.
So the next chart you'll see here in this lesson shows not only the first and second conjugation, but the third conjugation as well. We see the infinitive form of our new verb, which means to run, curere, and then we see the third person singular form, which is currit.
Right, so there are 2 really important things we have to note here. First is that the E in curere is short, and this will be the vowel we use to identify a third conjugation verb with its infinitive. So see how that's pronounced differently from the second conjugation, Bill?
Yes, and also notice that in portare, the infinitive of to carry, we have a macron over the letter A. And
right.
And in docere, the infinitive of to teach, we have a macron over the letter E there. But for curere, we do not have a macron over that letter that comes 3 from the end.
Right, so that's why it's so important that you pronounce and learn those macrons, those long marks, over words, not just so that we can tell the difference between certain noun cases, but also so that we can tell the difference between different conjugations of verbs.
That's right, Michael. And not only that, it's going to affect how the word is pronounced. According to the rules of Latin accent and Latin pronunciation, because that vowel there is short, that is the E, 3 letters from the end in the word curere, because that vowel is short, the accent moves away from that syllable and goes to the first syllable of the word. So this is not pronounced curere. It's not pronounced that way. It's curere with the accent on the first syllable. So that's a huge change from the other infinitives that you're accustomed to so far.
So I'll just read those again for you so that you can hear the difference. There's portare, docere, but curere.
Right, this is really important, so take note of it, that the syllable that gets the accent is different in the third conjugation. So because the vowel is short in the infinitive of a third conjugation verb, it can change the syllable that gets the accent. It can change the entire pronunciation of the infinitive.
Right, and while you only see here the slight difference in the third person singular, that is, cooler it so we have an I instead of an E in that form, in the next lesson, we'll give you the full conjugation chart so that you can start to use third conjugation verbs more widely.